Hello, everybody. Welcome to Be You and Your Calling. This is Anick Patry here, and welcome to the show. And today I'm going to interview an amazing woman in Australia. She's just a remarkable human being who's been through hell and back, and who's chosen to actually use what happened to her to transform her own life, and therefore helping others to transform their life. Petrea King, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Anick. It's lovely to be with you.
Yeah, great. So I'm just gonna read your bio because it's quite a long one, but the shorter version here. Here we are. Okay, Petrea King is the CEO of the Quest for Life Foundation, which she established in 1989. She's a well-known author, inspirational keynote speaker, a teacher, and a facilitator. She's also qualified as a naturopath, herbalist, clinical hypnotherapist, yoga, and meditation teacher. More than 110,000 people have attended residential programs or counseling with Petrea and her team since 1985. She also lectures and conducts workshops around Australia and internationally. And Petrea has written 8 best-selling books. Wow, that's amazing. And the rest she's going to share with you now. So, Petrea, this is an honor to connect with you. I've seen you speaking at Wake Up Sydney, at Meditation Space, Burma Kumaris before Christmas, and many other places. And it's just always quite fascinating to hear about your journey and how you came on the other side. So my audience would love to know how to free themselves and be on the other side. So can you share a little bit about what happened before Quest for Life in your life, like your biggest challenges, I guess?
Well, I grew up in the 50s, and I had a very chaotic and gorgeous brother who had probably had ADHD before anyone knew what that was. But Brendan was just 22 months older than I, and he pretty much filled up the space at home. And everyone in the family had a relationship really to Brendan, but not to each other. And so being a little bit younger than he, I did my best to be as invisible as possible and to have no needs, because his needs really filled the house. He was forever setting fire to it, or painting it with lipstick, or falling off the roof, or breaking bones, cutting himself, all kinds of things that I found quite scary. And before he was 10, he said to me that he knew that he had to kill himself by the time he was 30. And I took that on as, that's why I'm here. That's my purpose in life. I'm here to keep Brendan safe. And, of course, that was a huge load for a little girl to take on. And I remember thinking to myself, I have to grow up really quickly so I can look after Brendan. And I actually grew 23 centimetres, 9 inches in the following year.
Oh my God.
And my knee swiveled in and started dislocating, and I couldn't walk. And so I left school at 13 and went into hospital and had 3 years in hospital, 3 months in, 1 month out, 3 months in, 1 month out, for 3 years, having my femurs cut and my lower legs turned out and my tibias cut and turned in. And then they did those operations all over again because my knee swiveled straight back in again. So in a way, being in hospital was terrific, because it got me away from Brendan, and I found him very scary, but I adored him. Yeah. It also got me out of school, and I wasn't interested in what they were teaching in school, because I was always preoccupied with, why are we here? What's the purpose of human existence? Yeah. How come I've got food and all of those little black kids don't? How come if I've become a Christian, I'm going to be okay, but all those little black kids who've never heard of Jesus are going to burn and gnash their teeth forever? And I was terribly preoccupied and worried about all of these sorts of things when I was a very young child. So being in hospital gave me the opportunity to read voraciously And I read encyclopedias, I read dictionaries, because I played Scrabble with my grandmother for several hours a day, so I was forever studying words to catch her out. And but also in the hospital there were books by Herman Hesse and Aldous Huxley and Alan Watts and the Bhagavad Gita and the Mahabharata and the Upanishads from the ISKCON Foundation, the Hare Krishna people. And I devoured all of those as well. So I finally left hospital. They said I'd never walk again. I taught myself to walk. I'd not long been out of hospital and I went into nursing, and of course I injured my back because my knees, I couldn't take the weight in my knees after all the surgery. I was raped while I was in a back brace, and that was my first sexual experience when I was 17. My brother was depressed and Brendan was attempting suicide already. I got into drugs. We lived in Europe on a boat on one of the canals of Amsterdam for some time. And we lived then on a little farm in the south of Holland.
So was it with all your family? You moved there with your family, or just
no?
Okay.
First of all, I moved to New Zealand for a year.
Yeah.
Worked as a rouseabout in the shearing sheds,
right.
And that got me really strong. And then from there, I went to Europe because my brothers were both there, and I joined them. I did an awful lot of LSD during that time.
Oh, okay.
Then I went from there to England and ended up working with Winston Churchill's family. So Winston begat Randolph, who begat Winston, who begat Randolph, Jenny and Marina, and I looked after the 3 children as a nanny for a year.
Oh, wow.
I came back, went into nursing. I was still quite crippled with arthritis.
Yeah.
And so I've had a long history with chronic pain, and that's why I went into naturopathy and to study what can I do to make a difference to my own physical health.
Sure.
But I knew our mind played a significant part as well. Brendan, after several attempts, did finally succeed in taking his own life in Kathmandu.
Whoa.
And that was really painful because for the last 2 years of his life he was happy, and we thought, oh, thank heavens Brendan's okay. And then we got the phone call, so it was very difficult to deal with his death because there was no body, there was no funeral, there was no memorial, there were no packing up of possessions. It was just, he was in Kathmandu and then he just wasn't. Just after that, my husband and I moved to America to do our yoga and meditation teacher training course. And we'd only been there for 4 weeks when I thought my husband had gone for a long walk, but he'd gone back to Australia. And then just after that, I was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia and told that I wouldn't see Christmas.
Oh,
But then I had 2 small children, and that's when my life came crashing down.
Yeah.
Because until then, I don't think I'd ever cried over anything. And in our family, no matter what happened, you just coped. And so there was always this very strong facade of, I'm okay, you know, how are you? Always deflecting the attention to other people.
Yeah.
And so that for me became a living agony, really, because I felt I could no longer live with that split reality of being someone very privately to myself and the me that I kept highly projected to everybody else. And so I ended up in a little tiny cave outside of Assisi in Italy, and it was in that little cave where St. Francis used to retreat to that I started to weep. And I sobbed and sobbed and sobbed and sobbed and sobbed for a long time. And most people don't want to hear about the sobbing. It's like, what do I do when I'm in a difficult situation, where really it's about how do we be when we're in a real situation. So that was where I kind of completely unraveled.
Yeah.
And it was very profound. I found meditation when I was 17, so that was already a very strong part of my life.
Yeah.
Even through that time of drugs and pain and Brendan's ups and downs and whatever. And so for the next few months in this little cave, I just meditated and cried, meditated, cried, prayed, meditated, cried for several months until I actually found a good deal of peace. That's the short version.
So yeah. Well, look, yeah, of course. But we gather that it's been quite intense, and did you that process of healing through sobbing and meditating? Did you receive any support, or you did that journey by yourself?
I mostly did it alone, but I
Right.
was taken care of by an elderly priest who
Right.
was the head of that monastery, Father Ilarino,
Yeah.
and he, like the first day, he dragged me up the stairs and he sat me at a table and he put a meal in front of me, and it had meat in it. I hadn't eaten meat for 15 years. It had a big chunk of Italian white bread. And as a naturopath, I'd been telling everyone for years, the whiter the bread, the sooner you're dead. And then a goblet
I
of
never heard
wine,
that one.
and I drank up tea, coffee, nothing for 15 years. So it was like my whole belief system on the platter. And I realised that it was more healing to be grateful for what someone had lovingly prepared for me than for me to say, my belief system says I can't have that. I have to earn my right to exist, because that was the core belief that really drove so much of my life up until.
Yeah, beautiful. Wow, what a shift.
It was.
Yeah.
And I then, whilst I did it alone in that way with Father Ilarino's support, I had also studied voraciously for many, many years, A Course in Miracles, all of the great philosophical masters, yoga. So I had a very rich theoretical understanding of the whole human condition, of how we fall into this place of believing that we are less than who we are.
Yes.
And so theoretically I understood the journey, but that's very different from actually the raw experience of it.
Yeah.
And that raw experience was very enlivening and very cathartic and very painful and very isolating in many ways.
Yeah. What a brave, courageous woman you are.
But it's stuck between a rock and a hard place, you just do what it takes.
Yeah.
Because the alternative is you die, or you succumb to your fears and your anxieties. And I knew that I was not my mind. I had a mind.
Yeah.
And I knew not my feelings. I was having these feelings, and they were overwhelming me.
Of course.
And cultivating the ability to witness myself having the feelings, having the thoughts, rather than experiencing them and identifying myself. So rather than I am useless, I feel useless. And in time, that I am becomes a rock-solid foundation, and we can witness ourselves moving in and out of feelings, out of beliefs, out of thoughts, all of the time, knowing that they're not who we are, but they are what we are feeling.
That's an incredible awareness to have. And I guess it's not something to teach. It's for a human being to have that experience, to understand that we are not our feelings and our thoughts. They're passing through. So the language is very important. I feel that way, but saying I am is totally the identification of. So that's a very
it's critical,
but it's critical. It's so simple, yet it's like major. Yeah.
Yes, because very big difference between I am sad and I feel sad.
Yeah.
And I feel sad. Where do I feel that in my body?
Yeah.
And on a scale of 0 to 10, how big is that feeling? And is it a feeling that I need to express, or can I just witness it and watch it pass through without identifying myself as sad? And this is how it feels to be Petrea, feeling sad. It's okay to feel sad, and this is how feeling sad feels for me. It's not who I am. It is what I am feeling. That's a very huge step in anyone's awareness.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. It's very, very profound, and I'm sure the audience would really appreciate that that tip. And so then, what happened for you? And so you went on that healing journey. And what triggered or what inspired you to actually use that new awareness, that sort of spiritual awakening, if I can use that term, to become the founder of Quest for Life? Like, what was the main inspiration for you to dedicate your life, and knowing that your path was to create Quest for Life?
I didn't know that was my path at all.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
I back to Australia, and I had all the blood tests again.
Yeah.
And they, look, for some reason, you've had a remission that you weren't meant to have, and it won't last.
Okay.
And so I was kind of waiting around in the transit lounge of life, waiting to have my number called up. And after about 3 months, I was still here. And so I actually rang Marcus Blackmore from Blackmore Vitamins. I knew Marcus, and I rang him. And Marcus, I told him, I said, I'm meant to be dying. I'm not. I'm a naturopath, herbalist, homeopath, yoga and meditation teacher. I don't know how to start a life again when I'm going to die any minute.
Right.
And he said, forget what the doctors said, just go into practice. And he knew a doctor in Mossman who was looking for a naturopath, and I went into practice with him.
Yeah.
And he was very happy for me just to work the number of hours that I felt that I could.
Yeah.
And within the first 2 weeks, the first woman with breast cancer came in, and the day after, the first person with AIDS came in, and both of them had been told they wouldn't see Christmas, which is what I'd been told 15 months before. And I felt like I've met my people, the people who live in the land of uncertainty.
And so, beautiful, yeah.
My question to people has always been, what is it that stands in the way of you being at peace?
Okay.
And so that was a physical symptom like nausea or night sweats or diarrhea or chronic pain or sleeplessness.
Yeah.
And so from a naturopathic background and my experience with chronic pain and so on, I would work with that, and it's like we get that sorted. Now what is it that stands in the way of you being at peace?
Yeah.
And then conversations got ever deeper into those more fundamental questions of who am I? What am I doing on the planet?
Yeah.
Am I living the life I came here to live? If not, why not? And what am I going to do about it? And I found those conversations really riveting, because those were the ones that I had had ever since being a young child. And so after about 7 months, I realised that I was only seeing people with life-threatening illnesses, that I was having a fabulous time with these people, that some of them were getting better instead of dying, because as they seemed to come alive, things began to shift and change for them as well. And so I just kept working and working and working hard so that my children could come back and live with me, because I knew that both were very keen to come and live with me again. And so my focus really was on staying alive as long as I could to raise my children and to do this work that seemed to make a difference for people, and certainly helped me to find the words to describe the journey that I'd been on, because I didn't emerge out of the cave with any sense of being able to describe what had happened. And it was really the thousands of people that I've worked with since who've helped me to find the words to describe this deep inner human journey that we're all on.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't really, that I was then invited to work in Long Bay Jail with prisoners with HIV and AIDS, because they were out of control at that time, and there'd been a suicide and several threats of syringes and with infected blood, and they wanted me to go into that unit and quieten it down, and with a view to integrating those prisoners into the mainstream jail where no one wanted them. And I had offered to run a support group at the Albion Street AIDS Clinic, and had been doing that every week for a number of years, and I started a voluntary massage program for people with AIDS, because I couldn't imagine how it would be to be so sick and have no one want to touch you. And so I was just so absorbed in my work, really, that time passed,
Yeah.
And it wasn't really until there were two women in the very first cancer support group I ran in 1985,
Mm-hmm.
and Wendy and Kay had breast cancer. And Kay was only given a couple of years to live, but she lived for 7 years. And when she died, her partner, Wendy, came to me and said, can I volunteer? Can I help in some way to give back in some way, because it had been of such value to Kay and to the family.
Yeah.
And it was Wendy who, after a few weeks, said to me, you know, you might not die, and you actually don't have a life. And that came as a bit of a shock to me, because she was quite right. I worked 7 days a week. I was booked up the whole time. When I wasn't working, I'd get homes and hospices and whatever.
Yeah,
and
a bit of overgiving. That's often the empath. It's something to be aware of. I'm stopping you here because I mean, you know, a lot of us and my audience are empath, super sensitive, and want to help. And if we're still in the rescuer, we're overgiving, and we're not actually giving ourselves what we need. And that could be quite damaging, actually, because then when you give on it and you depleted, it's not serving anyone really. So
we realised that a long time before I met Wendy, because after about 18 months of being in practice, I had a massive burnout, and I again sobbed and sobbed for weeks. Why does it have to hurt so much to be human? How am I going to keep hearing these stories? And at that time, I was booked up 6 weeks ahead, and people kept ringing up and saying, but I've only got 4 weeks to live. Mm-hmm. So I would squeeze them in. And so after I had that big burnout, I had to ask myself, why do I need to be needed by all of these people? This is really unhealthy. And I realised that it was an old pattern of putting someone else's needs ahead of my own. And this time I'd made dying people more important than me, because I was meant to die, I didn't die, and so I made dying people now more important. So I recognised, it's the same old pattern again. You know, these patterns are tenacious.
They're very ingrained.
They're second nature. I talk about them as they're second nature to us, you know, but the issue is we have to relinquish what is second nature to us so that we reveal and experience and live in our first nature, our essential nature. You hear people all the time say it's second nature for me to think like this, feel like this, react like this, and no one ever questions, well, what's your first nature?
Yes.
And so when I came back from that holiday, I found supervision in my work. I saw a psychiatrist every week for 9 years to get really clear about what are my issues, what are the client's issues, so that those don't get enmeshed.
Yeah.
I decided to drive my daughter to school every morning. She went to a school down at Balmoral in Sydney, and that gave us some time in the car together to have good conversation.
Beautiful.
Then I would walk the entire length of Balmoral every morning with the intention of hearing every wave come to the shore.
Yeah.
I would have a fresh juice and a short black coffee, and I'd be back in my office chair at 8:30 ready for the first client of the day. Having attended to me, I had boundless energy for everybody else. But when I met Wendy several years later, I had loads of energy, but I had no plan for my life. I kind of got used to living as a tourist.
Yeah.
And I didn't own a home. All my energy just went into educating my children and doing the work. And so it was Wendy really who got me sorted out, and we've been a couple for 23 years nearly now, and I've really only been able to achieve what I have with Quest because of Wendy, because we work very much as a team, and she brings some skills, and her history was in education, and she had a very reputation in education and in English as a second language and in the curriculum and lecturing and so on. So the two of us together were able to create something that has been of benefit now to many thousands of people that I could never have achieved by myself.
Yeah, well, teamwork definitely helps, but don't underestimate the power of your creation in that, in your transformation, because teamwork is wonderful. Yet we are infinite beings, and on that, Petrea. So yeah, we're nearly at the end of our. I think we could talk forever, but just in a nutshell, like Quest for Life, who's that for, and what is it exactly in a short version of it? If you can share, if people are interested, it's about people who are grieving. It's about people who are in illness such as cancer and things like that. I have a friend of mine who attended one of your retreats when his father passed.
Yes.
5 days retreat, and his comments were like, it was remarkable, like such a healing and supportive environment in a beautiful place, and incredible staff who are there for people grieving or with chronic illness or deep anxiety as well, or depression as well. The people you invite to your retreats. So
yes.
just in a nutshell, what is Quest for Life, and who's that for?
We moved to Bundanon in the Southern Highlands, and we only for a short time when this very beautiful property right in the heart of Bundanon came on the market for $1.5 million, and Quest at the time only had $15,000 in the bank.
Okay.
So we had the 1 and 5, but we needed a lot more zeros.
Okay.
But again, I just knew it was meant for us. Anyway, it happened, and we now own that, the foundation, the Quest for Life Foundation, owns the property, which is a 35-bed guest house on 9 acres, and it's a magnificent property. And so over the years, our programs have evolved, and we run many, as you say, many different programs for different groups of people. Most of them are 5-day retreats from Monday to Friday, but we also have some that run over a weekend.
Okay.
So there's one specifically for people dealing with depression, anxiety, bipolar, loss, grief, trauma. That one's called Healing Your Life.
Yeah.
There's Taking Control of Chronic Pain, which is obviously for people who live with chronic pain. There's Quest for Life, which is for people with cancer. And there's a Quest for Life for people with Parkinson's as well, a separate program for people with Parkinson's. And then we also have worked for a long time with people with PTSD. And that's such a huge issue in our community amongst first responders, amongst from sexual abuse, from violence in childhood, from veterans, from car accidents, from all sorts of traumas and tragedies that happen to people. So we have a specific course now called Moving Beyond Trauma, which is for people who live with PTSD. And the insurer usually will pay for any of those people to attend the program because our results are so exceptional. And so the 5-day programs, a lot of people arrive a little bit anxious and suspicious and not sure of what it is that they've come to.
Yeah.
And it's so inspiring, given the enormity of the human suffering that they bring, that they leave 5 days later feeling empowered to embrace the challenges that they have, and that they have very practical tools and strategies to deal with things like switching off the mind at night so you can sleep, watching your feelings rather than labeling yourself as them, looking at our language and how we can change it, understanding how we manifest stress, and how we can create an environment for healing within our bodies. Understanding neuroplasticity, how the brain works, understanding epigenetics and how we can change the environment around the cell, which lead to a change in our physical health as well. Totally. So there are we have over 30 5-day programs a year, and about 10 weekend retreats as well. And then in addition to that, there are about 100 workshops that go on around the country in metropolitan and regional and rural areas as well. And they're really the skills in resilience, But for me, this is all spiritual work. It's about making that return journey home to our own essential nature, because your life does matter, and you're not here to get more stuff. The world's got more than enough stuff.
Yeah.
We're here to make this journey that we each need to make home to our own essential self.
Beautiful, beautiful. Our own essential self, a true self. So be it. Aho. Beautiful.
Our very best too, not to turn anyone away on financial grounds, and that's where our donations and bequests, they go into ensuring that we do our very best not to turn anyone away on financial grounds. So people are always very welcome to call us and to speak to us and ask any questions, so that they really understand what the program is about, so that they can really benefit the most.
Yeah, of course. That's beautiful. Such a heart calling. It's so heartfelt.
Yes.
And it helps so many people. So and the world needs it.
Indeed.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you so much, Petrea
King,
for opening up so authentically and generously, and sharing. Well, you know, I mean, we could do a program of like a few hours just talking and talking.
I've written my memoir, so that's coming out in September.
Wow. Okay, well, so people can read the book then, so to get more of your adventures and amazing stories of transformation and healing.
Very welcome to.
Yeah. So thank you again, and I'll put your website. It's questforlife.com.au. Right, I'll put that on down the bottom of the video, so then people can find you, and there's a phone number to call if you want more information and all the rest of it. So Petrea King, again, thank you so much. It was such an honor and a pleasure to have you here on the show at BU and Live Your Calling. I give you a big hug. Oh.
Very much. And thank you, Anick. Thank you so much for this wonderful service for the community.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, and you all take care. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And we'll see you very soon. Bye for now. Bye-bye.